Take a guess. What do you think blurring an image, detecting cancer, self-driving cars, sharpening a photo, and sorting products in a factory all have in common? Every single one uses the same exact maths. They all use a technique called convolution, which is one of the most important ideas in image processing. If you know how convolution works, you can build face detection, object detection, and everything else I just mentioned. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how it works. First things first, an image is just a massive grid of numbers called pixels. Every pixel is a brightness value from 0, which is black, up to 255, which is white. A pixel with a value of 128 would look gray. Color images work the same way, except instead of one grid, you have 3 stacked on top of each other. A red one, a green one, and a blue one. Convolution works the same on both, so to keep things simple, I'll explain it in black and white. This matters because once an image is just numbers, sharpening it is just doing maths on those numbers. Even detecting cancer with AI is at its core just maths on those numbers. So here's the trick behind all of these effects. You take a small filter and apply it to the image. That filter is called a kernel, which is just a tiny grid of numbers, usually 3 by 3. Here's how you use it. Place the kernel over the top left corner of the image so it covers a 3 by 3 patch of pixels. You then multiply each kernel number by the pixel directly underneath it. Add up all 9 results. That final number becomes 1 pixel in the output image. Then slide the kernel 1 pixel to the right and do it again and again until you've covered the entire image. And that's it. That's convolution. You place the kernel, multiply, add, slide, and repeat. Let's do one by hand so it really sinks in. Take this kernel, a 5 in the middle, a -1 directly above, below, left, and right of it, and a 0 on each corner. If you apply this kernel to an image, it sharpens it. A sharpen filter compares every pixel with its neighbors. If they all look the same, it does nothing. But if it spots a big change, like a dark pixel right next to a bright one, it exaggerates the difference. The dark side gets darker and the bright side gets brighter, and the edges start to stand out. Let's see the actual numbers. Imagine a 3 by 3 patch where the center pixel is 120 and all 8 neighbors are 100. Multiply each pixel by the kernel number on top of it and add everything up. The corners are multiplied by 0, so they vanish. The 4 neighbors each get multiplied by -1, that's -400 in total. And the center, 5 times 120 is 600. 600 minus 400 leaves 200. So the center pixel jumps from 120 to 200, which is way brighter than everything around it. Now repeat that little calculation for every pixel and every edge gets more defined. The whole image looks sharper. Now here's the interesting part. Those 9 numbers are the only thing you ever need to change. You do the exact same steps, but different numbers in the kernel, and you get a completely different effect. Let's try the exact opposite of sharpening. Fill the kernels with 1s and divide the answer by 9. Now every output pixel becomes the average of itself and its 8 neighbors. Fine details get smoothed away, edges go soft, and the image turns blurry. This is a blur filter, which is the same idea behind the blurred background on your video calls. So what if you wanted to find edges instead? It's actually very simple. You use a kernel that subtracts the pixels on the left from the pixels on the right. On a flat background, left and right cancel out. You get 0, pure black, so no edge. But the moment the kernel hits an edge, the sides stop matching and the output lights up, which causes bright pixels everywhere where the edges are and black everywhere else. This filter is called a Sobel filter. Here's an example of the actual maths. Say the left half of your image is dark, around 50, and the right half is very bright, around 200. Over the flat dark area, 50 minus 50, which is 0, which is also black. Over the flat bright area, 200 minus 200 is 0, which is also black. But right on the boundary, 200 minus 50 is 150, which is a bright pixel. Out of nowhere, the edge just glows. And the best part is that if you just change those 9 numbers again, you can get motion blur or the emboss filter, whatever you want. Here's a super useful way of thinking about kernels. A kernel is not random numbers. It's like a pattern, and convolution is how you scan an image for that pattern. Imagine the kernel as a tiny flashlight sliding across the photo, and at every spot, it asks the pixels below one question. How much do the pixels in the image below look like me? Wherever the image matches the pattern, it outputs a bright pixel. If you can understand that kernels and convolution look for patterns, understanding AI used in images and videos becomes way easier to understand. How AI sees. Now the hard part. Who actually decides what those 9 numbers are and how? For half a century, the answer was simple. Smart humans sat down and manually calculated these filters. It was all done by hand. But then something big happened. Someone asked, what if we let computers pick? What if we start with random numbers, show the machine a million photos, and let it tweak its own math until it gets it right? That is a convolutional neural network, or a CNN. It's the same as kernels and convolution, but scaled way up and way more complex. The way that it works is that instead of having one kernel, you have multiple kernels and multiple layers of kernels. Each layer detects something different. Layer 1 could detect something simple like lines and blobs. The next layer could detect things like corners, and the third layer, shapes, and so on until you get to the end and it's detecting actual objects like cars, dogs, and fruit. At first, the values of these kernels are random, and it's horrible. However, when you give it millions of images and you tell the computer to guess, check, and then correct itself, after many loops, it starts working. So next time when people say that a computer sees an image, you now know that it's really just convolution run millions and millions of times on the image with kernels that the computer taught itself. Computer vision isn't magic. It's just a filter sliding over an image. Thank you for watching the video.